keep in mind, obviously, there is quite a big cohort of us today, which is pretty understandable because obviously the SAC is tomorrow. Yeah. Guys, so you're going to have to manage your own behaviour. Okay, I can't be calling out to you every time you're speaking or whatever because obviously there is far too many of you. So if you could just make my life a little bit easier, then I would be very happy. Okay, so we're doing, can't be much difference between people and the way they live. I haven't seen many people tackling this question in terms of the amount of drafts. I think the only person who's given me a draft with that question might be Caleb. He's my favourite, what can I say? So, I think this is a good one to have a go at because I think it's quite a tricky one. I think it's quite a tricky one in terms of what to do with it. So, let's have a little bit of a look. First off, who says that? If you get a quote, the first thing you got to do is go, who said that? Hands up, hands up, hands up. Lisa. Lisa to Jeff. Not, sorry, Jeff. Jeff just asked a question. Jess just asked a question. Hang on. Sorry, I'm just going to turn my emails off. All right. Guys, thanks. Jess just asked a question. She said, do you have to mention where it's from? No, not necessarily, but you do need to use the quote. If you receive a quote in your question, you must use it. You can't just ignore it. You've got to use it in some respect. So if you didn't know where it was from, that would make your life really difficult to use it, I would say. So usually if I pick a question that has a quote, the first thing I try and do is like work out where it's from so that I can actually start combining it into my essay planning. So it is Lisa.
Ms. Richardson, sometimes
Lisa
contextualising the quote helps you to
Jeff.
how you answer the question or how I want you to direct the question. So the ideas that the quote, the context it said sometimes can shape your response.
Yeah, and like they give you the quote, they often give you a quote to actually help you, like kick you in the right direction so that you know what to do with the question. Because usually you find a quote paired with a question that the question is quite vague. And so they give you the quote to go, head in this direction. Yeah. So this quote is Lisa to Jeff. Why does she say this to Jeff? There can't be much difference between people in the way they live. What is the context of her saying that? Good, yeah, that she could actually kind of meld into his life or vice versa. Yeah. Trying to convince him they could be together. All right. So I usually just like to kind of make that note for myself so that I can actually remember it and use it. Because God forbid I forget to use it. All right. Does Rear Window present this to be true? Ooh. Do we think that there is, do you think the text says, because it's not about what I believe, it's about what the text believes. Do you think the text believes that there isn't much difference between people in the way they live? Is there much difference between people? Rubes is shaking his head. He's going, nah, why not? People are forced to conform to societal expectations in the 50s. Now, this is a good way of doing it, especially if you get a question that you're a bit like, I don't know what to do with. Start just kind of jotting down thoughts that you have about the answer. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to use every single thought I jot down, but it just helps me kind of clear the air and makes, because I know like a lot of the time when you get a question that you're not sure of, you get really nervous and you choke and you go, oh, I've got nothing to say. And it's like, that's not true. You do have something to say. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's write something down and things will come. right? So, people are forced to conform to societal expectations in the 50s, yeah? Why else would you say no? No, there isn't any difference between people. People are all the same. So, no means people are all the same.
Superficial differences.
What was that, Lisa?
Superficial differences.
There are only superficial. Do you guys know what the word superficial means? Like on the surface.
Could you use cinematic techniques in the cross-cut to say the parallels between the lives, or is that going out too much on it?
No, you could say that. So, would you like to say it again?
Okay, what about the cinematic features? That, you know, the cross-cut, that great cross-cut, you know, the man comes home to the hot apartment, the nagging wife, and then you've got the Thorwoods acting it out, and then they're actually doing it when Lisa's like, you know, the queen bee, he's the queen bee, she's the queen bee with the pick of the drones, and then the camera closes up and then she slaps him. No, she doesn't love any of them. The Thorwoods, if you look at them, Lisa is slowly becoming Anne Thorwood with her nagging, trying to change, you know, her man, whereas, you know, more often than not, Jeffries is, you know, pushing her away and, you know, verbally eviscerating her. So you've got those sort of superficial, I suppose, even parallels there.
Yeah.
They both disembody their women.
So, shows this through the cross-cutting between Jeff's apartments and the neighbours, like, you know, where we go, like, Mrs. Lonely Heart and him. And, you know, actually my class, do you remember we were talking about the other day how, like, their tables are set up the same? Like, they've both got the candlesticks, they're both sitting there, and we're supposed to mirror image and go, this is what's going to happen to you, Jeff, if you keep being a jerk. You're going to end up single and alone. Dinner scene.
Also, the original scene and the Queen Bee scene.
The Queen Bee scene.
And even some of the thoughts, like, sort of...
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
All right. Roots, you had your hand up? Guys, Roots is talking. Good, okay.
Jordan just brought up a really good point that when Jeff tells Lisa to shut up, and she's speaking nonsense, it mirrors Thorwood telling the artist to shut up. It's really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The treatments start to align, and the phrases start to,
I'm just trying to think of how to put it in there. Nice try. Where's the real side? 3, yeah, but you could write 4. You could write 2 amazing ones. It's in 90 minutes. Guys, Andy's asking some really good questions. So he just said, how many paragraphs in it is it? And I said, well, it could be 3, like decent chunky paragraphs. It could be 4, where you write 2 really chunky paragraphs and 2 smaller paragraphs, or it could be 2 massive paragraphs. It's not about quantity, it's about quality, right? But don't write me 1 because I'll think you're a dummy. But in 90 minutes, I would say you should be able to write around 1,000 words. Around 1,000 words, give or take. Again, it's about quality and not quantity, though. So if you write me 800 of amazing, then that's great. Okay? So focus on just running the best you can rather than the biggest amount you can. All right, Thorwald telling, sorry, I can only follow one train of thought at a time, telling artists to shut up.
Who's taking that from my cue?
No, I'm writing it down because you said it.
No.
And Jeff telling Lisa to... All right. Sorry. We've got a lovely young woman with her hand up. Let's give her a listen.
Not only are the characters in the neighbourhood lonely relationships, but they all have this
All people hunger. Or in Lisa's case, are thirsty. Whatever. All people hunger. And
That's a good point.
as my class said, the hunger is usually based around connection. That it's either connection to a wider community, connection to a person. You know, they're looking for connection.
Fill the void, yeah. Another beautiful hand up.
Wonderful. Who's got a hand up? I can't see. Oh, there we go. Yes, honey.
People have this stress that, like, Jeff has, like, the same job as what he does. Like, he's a photographer and he's looking, he's always observing, he still observes people when he's with voyeurism.
Yeah.
And you've got Ford, he's like the Trump salesman, and then when he cuts off his wife, he keeps carting her around in, like,
Well, just with that though, but because of the nature of a travelling salesman, he's forced to interact, whereas Jeff isn't. He's more standoffish. But they do both cut up women, disembody them, one physically, one not so physically, one with
What?
the torso. Well, he reduces. Jeff reduces. Miss
Sorry, I just
Torso,
put water in my
Miss
nose.
Lonely Hearts, he reduces them to body parts, whereas Thor physically cuts them up.
Are we getting too far?
Well, is it in the vein or the? It is in there.
I feel like it's getting too far. I don't know. We'll put it up, but it's not my thing. But hey, like that's the thing though.
You could put it with
Like
shut up.
what I write will be completely different to what someone
Yes.
else writes. Do you know what I mean? And that's okay. Just because I go, it's a bit far. If you can validate it, you can validate it. And she can. I just don't like it. Yeah. 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 Thorwald and guys.
I don't know.
Lisa, can you?
Guys, come on. It's a lovely hat at the back. It's really.
With the ballet dance, I can't remember.
Miss Torso.
So,
Guys, we can't hear his question.
where it's the question, there can't be much difference. She's parading around with these men, these very wealthy,
She's doing it to survive.
right? And then eventually you see her husband or whatever he's come home and
Stanley.
he's very average.
Yes.
Just the average couple, I suppose. Nothing extraordinary. Yeah, just like you and I. Like nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing extraordinary. Not literally.
What are you trying to say about Alex?
Sorry, Alex. I'm the short fella.
So, the other thing that we haven't mentioned is that Lisa actually proves that there isn't much difference because she actually, in the end, decides to go over to his way of thinking, you know, to go off and travel. She actually proves that she can do it, doesn't she? That she just needed the right situation, right? Like she actually shows us that there isn't much difference between people in the way they live because she's going to go off and be an adventurer too. True?
An unhappy adventurer.
Well, she looks happy. Kind of. Look, we can talk about whether she's happy or not later.
Interpretation. There's no right or wrong. It's open to interpretation. You know, I don't like this. Okay. That's not I'm kind of a high pitch. Okay. Shush, guys.
Alright.
Shush.
Okay, so Ruben's gone all in and he's gone, no, there is no difference between people in the way they live. You know, they're all the same. Everybody's the same, right? Is there any kind of room to say, like, no, we agree with that? We agree with that statement? There is different. Sorry. Can we disagree with that statement and say there isn't You know, like there is difference.
Jeff never kills Lisa. Like, there are murderers.
Okay, so let's say there is difference. Alright,
I'm trying to think that one. 'Cause I
so,
also agree with
yeah, I know, it's like I'm going double negative.
And I'm really, really thinking, I really agree with the topic.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
Everybody's got a hand up, guys.
Guys, don't make this too much work. But isn't that like Lonely Heart? She's lonely too. They're all lonely. Do you know what I mean? Loneliness is something that actually unites them. Guys.
But she's slumming up with Jeff.
She does slum it with you. Okay, so you're saying there is difference. There's like societal difference, like financial, like socioeconomic difference. Okay.
She kind of breaks that down by saying, you know, I see myself in Miss Torso, who's obviously not financially well established.
Yeah, but she still is. She is still like much. Yeah. Socioeconomic difference.
Guys,
Yeah. Shh, that's why we're doing it, my love. Because you don't like it. Because you don't know if you're going to get questions like this on the exam that you don't like.
can everyone like this side of the room stop breathing for a little bit? I'm a bit warm. We'll take it in turns.
Yeah, if only. Alright. Caleb, enlighten me, my love.
Could you do one on race and how
Nice one.
Yeah, you could use the what is it, the babysitter? Yep. Race.
No, that's
Right. We're saying no, there is a difference. There is a difference between people.
Shush!
Guys, if you want to go have a chat, step outside, mate. You don't have to be here. This is not a compulsory class. So, we're saying, yes, there is difference. Because remember, we're just kind of getting all our ideas out. And Caleb said, why don't you talk about race? It is a very small part in the text, but it is something that you could bring up. And I think it would be an interesting point. You could say, yes, there is a difference, and it's shown through race. The babysitter, the lady on the phone, is presented as distinctly different through her dialogue and pronunciation.
Isn't it one stage he calls his wife? He says, yes, it's no, Violet, whatever her name was. Thor's a man. That's his wife.
What? No, oh, okay. Sorry.
Shush! I'm confused.
So, there's a bit where, on the second phone call, where Jeff calls to get Doyle to come over. This is after they've taken the ring and Lisa's been arrested. He calls and he gets the babysitter, and the babysitter's like, it's the babysitter, you know, like does that real like yokel-y kind of like. I'll play it. I'll find it for you. Do you want me to find it?
Yeah.
All right. I'll play it to you. And you know that it's like supposed to be like a racist interpretation of a black woman's voice. Let me find it. It's not good. If it was done these days, people would be up in arms. It's the babysitter.
Shush.
It's really bad. It's a really
Guys, if you want to chat, please leave and have a chat outside.
yeah. No. But if you want to watch it tonight, I think that's an excellent idea. Yeah.
Shush.
About his feet. When?
Guys, please.
Chelsea. You wonder what you're.
Oh, maybe it's not. It's the first one.
Please don't do that.
Oh, the couple of hundred knives that we all know. Please fall. Right.
Jeff, you know someone came over for tonight.
You think this is worth waiting all day to see? Bring me the Dior. Dog. Right, those two. You won't dig. There.
Where is it? Am I going too far?
That ring would be to chop off.
No.
It's low in the house.
Oh, the second time you do No, give her that.
It's when they're digging, you reckon? Oh, sorry.
Speaking. I'm a friend of Mr. Doyle. Who's this?
This a babysitter.
Oh, here we go. Found it just by accident. Sorry, I'm impatient. Oh, here we go. Alright. Listen carefully.
This a Dory.
Hello, this will be Jeffrey speaking.
Oh. Sorry, guys.
Mr. Doyle. Who's this?
This a babysitter.
Oh.
I'll pay that. I'll pay that.
They went to
I'll pay that. That's it. Yeah.
I see.
Maybe nightclub.
Yeah.
If he
No,
calls
it's
now
not
and hasn't kept
uneducated.
with Elvis
It's
Joe,
just,
by the way, might have quite a surprise.
Yeah, that's what we see. No, it's okay.
Alright. So,
Guys!
thank you.
Guys, Miss Richardson has a point to make. It does sound like the classical,
Yeah.
sort of that kind of uneducated, mispronounced, really deep South.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a Southern African American kind of drawl, like, and it's if they yeah, it's a very racist undertone, and if they actually try to do that like now in the 21st century, like, oh my god, it'd be howled out. But yeah, it's definitely presenting her as other, as different, right? And certainly in a negative way too. So that would definitely be a really interesting point to make. Any other difference that we can kind of find?
Helen's happy marriage. She's an other. She's got a happy marriage.
Well, you could say, yeah. Well, you could say that like the difference is that all of these other relationships are sad, but whose ends up happy?
Stella, yes. Stella, they're the odd ones out.
And Jeff and Lisa, in the end, they end up happy together.
I can't. It's doomed for them. He's just gonna get better and run. He's just gonna follow and break her legs. All right, guys, please. Miss Riley. Come here, Miss Riley.
Guys.
Example of how people like how they live and how they actually are, because he lives in a very social manner. People always at his house having parties, but he's actually very alone.
But they're all lonely. Except for Stella.
Except Stella, she is.
And they sort of create the appearance, like even Miss Torso from afar looks happy. When you get up close, she's not. So I think that's more of a similarity.
Yeah.
So,
Alright.
Like, would you just simply say how, like, not, like, the thoughts, like, Lars kills his wife, but everyone else doesn't.
Okay, not everybody's a murderer.
Yeah, not everyone kills their wives.
yes. We might want to kill our wives.
Not everybody kills their wife. That's a good argument. Not everybody in the film kills their wife. That's a difference. Alright.
Guys, come on, focus. Lisa's alive at the end.
Alright. So, now that I've compiled, you know, not to be too math sciencey, but now that I've compiled a whole lot of data, I can then decide on, okay, well, where is my strongest argument? And I think my stronger argument lies in saying this statement in general, guys, this statement in general is true. However, there are some superficial differences. Yeah? So what I would then do is I would go back and decide on the ones that I really like, that I think will make really good arguments, that I can flesh out into arguments, or even group into arguments. So I might be able to kind of go, this is true in regards to women, or this is true in regards to relationships, or this is true in regards to whatever. Like, I would probably do one saying there isn't much difference between people in the way they live in regards to relationships. And then I can talk about loneliness, and I can talk about everybody needs somebody, that all the women need a man and to be happy and all that kind of thing. And then I would go, I'll just wait. I'd probably, and I hate doing this usually, but I think it would make a really good paragraph. But usually I would say, don't do a cinematic paragraph, because I think it's a bit lame, like to dump it all in one. But I think in this one, you could probably do a paragraph on cinematics just in terms of like cross-cutting.
Yeah.
And just talking about cross-cutting for a paragraph, because that is such a huge way about how he shows that that people are the same. So
Yeah, that's one of the few times you let it go.
yeah. So I'll just wait, guys. I'm having to work far too hard. Jess, shh, it's killing me. Seriously. So what I would do as a final, I would do a paragraph saying people are the same when it comes to relationships and connections. Yeah, and then I would talk about how, like, the hunger. I'd talk about everyone needs somebody.
Views on morality. No?
And sorry?
Views on morality, would that be a slight difference? No?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, you've got this really challenging...
And then I would do a paragraph on the cross-cutting.
Yep.
How he uses it to show that, like, everybody is the same. Sorry, I'm just looking for my... There it is. I do a cross-cutting paragraph saying that that's how Hitchcock shows us that everybody is the same, because he kind of creates all these lovely juxtapositions where, like, we see these juxtapositions where you get two things and you hold them next to each other and you go, same or different? Creates juxtapositions. positions where we see everyone is the same. And then I would do of course, yeah. If you can find a square inch, it's all yours. Oh, actually, Lise, can you pass around a sign-up paper? A sign-in
Oh, I
paper?
can.
That'd be great.
There's a piece of paper going around that's going to start with Renelli.
Yeah, pass it on. Write your name. And then these are possible paras. Guys. Then in my third paragraph, I would probably do a third paragraph just because I like to have a little bit of a however paragraph. I love a however paragraph. Just floats my boat. I would do a however paragraph going, there are some superficial differences. However, there are superficial differences. And that's where I would use the stuff that we came up with just then. Does that make sense? Ta-da! That is probably the hardest question on those practice questions that we gave you, I reckon. I think.
That last paragraph's kind of ugly, isn't it? It's like grouping. The paragraph about the superficial differences.
Yeah.
It's just there's not enough, but it's just, yeah.
That's why you make it
I
your
really
third,
agree
yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's like you're looking for.
Hang on.
Guys, come on, ladies and gentlemen.
Guys, we've got a question. Question. Yeah.
Well, second on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Would you use that quote in the question in that last point, even though it's different times?
I would probably use it. I would probably use it in this first one because it's about relationships. So that's a really good question. So Bosco's asking, where would I put the quote? Because I've got to put the quote somewhere. I would probably put it in this first paragraph because she's saying it. Remember, we're talking about how she says it, trying to convince them that they could be together. So I would put it in the first one where I'm talking about everyone's lonely and needs somebody. And I'd say that even Lisa feels like any of these superficial things that she has that is different, they can overcome it because essentially they are the same. They both need someone.
Yeah, because he thinks he's so different in lifestyles, and actually they're not.
Yeah.
He's like, I do this, and I do this, and you do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's
Oh, you could even actually put it in the third one and go, even though there are differences, like Lisa shows, they're superficial and you can overcome them. That would be cool. I like that. So it could go in either.
You could start with, hang on guys, here's an idea. You could start with Lisa's trying to find common ground to justify her relationship with Jeff.
Guys,
And therefore the common ground
Jeffin, zip it.
is what she's using. So she's trying to justify her relationship and say, well, people, we're really the same, Jeff, because Jeff's just going on, you couldn't do this, and you couldn't eat this, and you couldn't do that. And she's trying to justify their relationship to say, yes, we should be together. So maybe you could lead with that and then do your paragraphs on how they really are the same. Do you reckon maybe?
Yeah.
That would be a nice lead in that one. Yeah. So you could say, you could use from the contextualize a quote in that one and say Lisa is using this to justify how they're not really that different, how Jeff highlights it out.
Yeah. Sorry, Jess has a question.
No, it's not.
No question stupid. You'd be amazed what people ask me. Jess.
Do the arguments have to contrast each other? Like, can they be like agree, disagree?
I
Or should they all
personally, as a writer, I prefer going like agree, agree, disagree, or disagree, disagree, agree. Personally, but then if it flows nicer, go with whatever flows nicest. If it flows nicest to go yes, no, yes.
No, I'm saying, like, do you actually have to...
Oh, do you have to have one?
Yeah,
No.
just do the same.
Yeah, can you just do all agree?
That's a really good question. So if you get a question and you're like, I wholeheartedly agree, there is no area in this that I disagree, that's okay.
Is it a discuss?
It's fine.
If it's discuss, you've got to find something different. But if it's to an extent, I reckon you can get away
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I reckon. It's not Bible,
yeah.
but I think if it's a discuss, if it says discuss, I would try.
There is some wiggle room, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, don't read my emails. Hello. Yes.
Look at the grammar.
I just like that he's written hello.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah. All right. Right. All right. I'm putting myself in the corner again. All right.
How you going, Georgie boy? All right.
He looks excited to be here. That's nice. All right.
Your parents are making you
Ladies, gents. Guys, thank you. So, the second question we're going to do, because we've done that one now, let's move on. The second question is, there is a quote from Jeff. If you don't get me out of this swamp of boredom, I'm going to do something drastic. How are cinematic elements used to capture the feeling of confinement in Rear Window? Yes, darling. Yes. Yes, it does.
It tells you what.
But, thank you. But, that's not as confining as you think because it says cinematic elements. Now that doesn't, people kind of feel like, and actually, I had someone comment, I don't know who it was, I had someone comment on my YouTube the other day that they looked at the essay that we'd done in AIM last week, and he's like, you know, the first one, I don't even know who it was because it was like, you know, like a fake handle, of course, like who'd have the guts to actually have your actual name. They were like, oh, this is really great and all, but it wouldn't get more than 5 because it doesn't talk about cinematic techniques. And I was like, hold up. Hold up. Of course I replied. Of course I replied. So, it goes, because even though it didn't talk about camera angles, it actually did, but even if it didn't, it was still about cinematic elements because I talked about costume, I talked about set design, I talked about actor facial expressions, I talked about all of these other cinematic elements that weren't necessarily like camera shots.
Oh, they're gonna fail.
And so, guess who deleted their comment? Yeah. Burn! Anyway, and I also like kind of zinged them because I was like, but you know, good luck with your VCAR marking at the end of the year. Yeah. Anyway, so, well, like, I'm fine if I'm wrong, but I wasn't wrong, so don't zing me. So, I want to give ourselves a challenge. I want to try and write about cinematic elements about confinement without talking about camera angles. No camera angles, everything but camera angles. So, tell me, what do we got?
There's kind of a facial expression of Jeff when Lisa's getting got by Orwell.
Getting gone. This is online.
Getting stopped. She wasn't really getting back. Right. She was getting harassed by Paul, and Jeff is like, he can't do anything. It's fine.
Yeah. I like the faces. Getting got.
Manhandled.
Manhandled.
Oh, I knew this word.
Alright. Guys.
Guys, come on.
Oh, I shouldn't do that so near the microphone. Alright. Sorry. Come on. Jordan.
With setting, the whole film is confined to a single set.
Good. We are confined to the apartment just like Jeff.
Confined to the constraints of his wheelchair.
Alright.
Ava.
Ava. Good. Yep.
Oh yeah, you don't hide it.
Set design the stairs
Out the window.
that are in front of Jeff's door show that for now there is no escape. Alright. Thank you. Guys. Yes, Dan.
Would you say costume because Jeff is confined to a wheelchair?
Good. Costume. Jeff is confined to cast/wheel. Right. Guys, thank you. Menashe.
Diegetic and non-diegetic sound.
Yeah. How does that show confinement? Everything is diegetic sound. Yeah. Everything is diegetic. How does that show our confinement? What part of the what part of the diegetic sound communicates confinement? Ooh, who was that? Speak louder, that person. Pardon? Repetitive song. Yeah.
You can't escape it.
What about like the silence?
And the silence, showing how alone you are, that if you are stuck, good.
When Lisa leaves and it's all silent.
Good, yeah.
What about the fact that there's noises going on, but he can't physically go out and look? Or is that just going
Yeah.
a stretch too far? Yeah, like the kids playing outside. Yeah. So he's trying to look, but he's confined by the wheelchair. You get that real closing in. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Skindaris. Here lies the broken. Yes. That's a camera angle though, but you could say that
The costuming, yeah.
Yeah, I'll pay that, yeah. Oh, but you said read.
Alright, guys. Ladies, gents, come on.
Hey, come on, shush it. Get it.
Yeah, they're part of cinematic techniques. Bird cage. Guys.
Yes, it's real. That's like the grill thing. Yeah. Oh, right.
Oh, it's a draw.
That is Rollo.
And Rollo goes trash.
You shouldn't shut up.
Alright. Guys. Oi! Ladies, gents, come on. Ladies, gents, come on, bring it down. Hannah. Shh.
Costume, yeah. Oh, and what about Miss Torso in her little? That's supposed to be underwear too. So she's. Oh no, she can go. Sorry, that's really
Yeah.
bad. Apologise. But yeah, pajamas. I like that. And Lisa's outfits are very confining and restrictive as well, but that's probably going too far.
And it's like the times. Ava.
Just courses.
The itching. The itching. It's like the frustration of like the confinement.
Yeah, hard.
Right.
Incessant scratching.
Right, sorry, guys. Andrew has his hand up. Skidare. Ah,
Yeah, symbols.
good, yeah.
Ghetto. But you know, you do that on Ed Roller.
That wasn't ghetto. That was
No, but you Ed Roller, I could tell how rich you are.
hunger statue. Alright.
Alright guys, come on, we're nearly there. Say to us,
The newlywed husband leaning out the window.
Oh yes, trying to get away. No, it is Harry. It's Larry, isn't it? No, I think it's Harry.
I think it's Harry.
I Googled it. Oh, there's Larry. It is. Larry. I thought it was Larry. I think it's Harry. Right.
Alright.
Guys, come on.
Ladies, gents, come on. Alright. So, as we can see, you definitely do not need to talk about camera angles to talk about cinematic elements. Cinematic elements, remember, camels, it's heaps of stuff. It's camera work, yes, acting and actors, it's mise-en-scene, it's editing, it's lighting, it's sound. Camels, okay? You do not just have to talk about camera angles. It's great if you do, but don't just lean on that. There are plenty of other cool things that you can talk about, okay? So, now we need to decide. Sorry. Now we need to decide how to actually put this together, because it's all great that we've got all this evidence, but we can't just write a paragraph on each of these. So, what I would say is I would group this in terms of ideas. I would write an essay about ideas, and I would kind of come up with 3 ideas that confinement revolves around. And one is actually in that quote. Yes. Hang on, sorry, I can't hear over. Yes. Yes. And I can show you how. So, I've got 3 ideas, Shantanu, Jeffin. I've got 3 ideas. Don't look at Lucas, look at me. And I'm doing that. So, I want to have 3 ideas that link with the idea of confinement, right? So, I think one of them's in that question, boredom. The confinement leads a person to be bored, right? So, I would do 1 paragraph about confinement equals boredom. Yeah, you can, but yeah. Then what does another thing? What does confinement lead to? Another thing that it leads to? Yeah. The desire for freedom. Okay. Well, that comes with confinement equals.
Yes, you look at confinement and boredom. So what can they avoid? What you couldn't avoid
The last one I would probably do, and I think I'd actually go like this. Yeah. So,
Fresh guys, come on.
So I could do a paragraph on confinement equals boredom and then grab the evidence from here and go, where do I see that?
The leg.
And then confinement equals frustration, grab my evidence from this one. And then confinement equals a desire for freedom. Done. Now, the quote... Lisa, sometimes you're the problem. I love you, but sometimes you're the issue. Right. Yeah? What do you want to cut? Or, yeah. Yeah, I feel like that too. Confinement equals, sorry, do you want to say that again? Yeah? So let's do that. I like that. Right. What do you think? Guys? So, in terms of the quote, I could put it in one of two places. I could either do it as boredom and frustration, that I'd do something drastic, or I could put it in this second one that Miss Callanan gave us and talk about, like, that he calls it something drastic, which is getting married. Yeah, stripping himself of freedom. Yeah.
Alright guys, come on, we know that.
Where else?
Has
I've
everyone
written it
got
there.
signed the sheet?
Alright. Has everyone signed the sheet? Yes? Right, we've got 5 minutes left. And what I... Yeah. And what I thought I would do... Sorry, I'll just wait.
Guys, can you stop writing rude things on the sign-in sheets, please?
Alright. Guys, I'm waiting. So, for the last 5 minutes, what I thought I would do is just open it up and see if there is any questions or anything that you want to know about the SAC tomorrow. Obviously, not the questions. That's a boring question. But if there's things that you want to know. First off, can I say, bring a dictionary. Bring a dictionary. And not a dictionary thesaurus, and not one of those student dictionaries that aren't really a proper dictionary, an actual proper dictionary. Ruben, question. No reading time? No reading time. You got 90 minutes. You're jumping in head first.
Okay, that's fun.
There's no need for writing time. The questions are 3 sentences. So, the questions, actually no, 4. All up, they're 4 sentences. So, right. I think it's 4 sentences. I think it is. Right.
Guys, come on. What time does it start?
3:30. Where?
Upstairs, the BCE.
Yeah. So, what we'll be asking you to do,
Guys.
thank you. What we'll be asking you to do is to line up in your groups outside underneath the bridge. We want you to line up in your groups and we'll be bringing you in group by group. Thank you. Yeah, class by class. So make sure when you get down there that you head to your class group, like find your classmates. We'll have an area where you can dump your bag so that you're not bringing in anything like a phone or anything. Make sure that you don't have your phone on you. Keep it in your bag. We'll find somewhere to put your bag. Please don't bring it in because that will forfeit your sack. I'll just wait. I know it's packing up time, but you've got to stay focused. Are there any other questions? Yes, Jess. The criteria, I'll send the criteria out to all Year 12s if you want it. It's not very fascinating. Basically, to get an S, you need to do 4 things. You need to basically write in English. Most of us can manage that. You need to show knowledge of the text, show knowledge of answering the question, and then there's one about like structure, that you know the basic understanding of how to structure an essay. Like it's not super, like, it's not. Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah. Right, Finton has a question, and usually they're pretty good. I did use the qualifier usually.
Their language, like the film techniques, sound, diegetic sound.
Yeah, and even just things like using the word conveys, that you know how to make an argument. Yeah. Guys, thank you.
And the language of the essay as well.
Guys, come on, there's 2 more minutes. We need to get through these questions. Yes, Sally?
What would you recommend as the most useful way to
get ready tonight? Okay, my tips for tonight. This is what I would do if I was you, but I'm not so sucked in. Shantanu, if I was you, what I would do tonight is, if I've watched the film in like the last week, I wouldn't worry about watching the film. If I haven't watched the film in the last week, I'd definitely spend like a bit of it, like I would say half an hour, 40 minutes, just flicking through the film again and reminding myself of like bits. Then what I would do is go to my practice question sheet and I would ensure that I knew how to answer every single one of them, because basically if you can answer the practice questions, you can do the SAC. So go through every single one of the questions, work out what you would do for each paragraph, kind of, you know, plot out each one. If you get to one and you're like, I don't know what to do, bring it tomorrow to your teacher and go, help me. Yes? That would be a smart thing to do. Yeah? Yeah. That's what I would do. No worries. Bye. I'm going to do it tonight and take a photo, send it to you. It's going to happen. I live an exciting lifestyle. Oh, I'm still recording that too.